join me in welcoming our 2021 Dukes of Distinction. John Aravosis, class of 1981. Dr. Joseph Collins, class of 1972. Dr. Rachel Elliott, class of 1984. Bruce Mather, class of 1965. Jerome Rich, class of 1956. Dr. George Williams, class of 1970. Thank you. Thank you to our student musicians for joining us. I'm so glad that you were here to share your time and your gifts with our Duke alums. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you. And at this time, we will dismiss our student musicians. I think they have some homework to do and some practicing with their instruments, so you're dismissed. Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Dukes of Distinction ceremony. My name is Shaheh Bagdasarian and I have the privilege and honor to be the principal here at York High School. York has a tradition of excellence and a history of empowering students to reach their highest potential. Tonight, we recognize some of the finest graduates. We are proud of their accomplishments and we celebrate their impressive contributions to our society. Inductees, you have earned tonight's distinction because you have demonstrated a commitment to scholarship, service, character, and leadership. You are to be commended for the amazing journey that has brought you here tonight. You have earned the admiration of your colleagues and the respect of your peers. This evening, we welcome you back and honor you as a distinguished Duke. But before we do so, I'd like to share my gratitude to a number of groups. First, I'd like to thank the York administration, especially Drew McGuire, our custodial staff, the Communications and Alumni Relations Department, the Foundation, District 205 Board of Education, President Kara Cafario, along with our Superintendent, Dr. Campbell, for all your hard work and leading us up to this event. Second, I'd like to thank the Judging Committee, the YDAP Committee, District 205 Foundation, in addition to our student ambassadors. Please stand and I'll be recognized. Everyone. And at this time, I would like to introduce Kathy Wilson, the president of the York High School Alumni Association.
Thank you. And good evening. I'm Catherine Wilson, class of 1965. And I'm greeting you tonight as the president of the York Community High School Alumni Association. The Distinguished Alumni Initiative is now 8 years old, and this year 6 recipients join a list of notable alumni, representing a vast array of outstanding accomplishments for the betterment of society, the environment, various industries, and humanity. This program epitomizes the long tradition of excellence delivered for over 100 years by the teachers and staff of York High. It proves that a solid educational foundation, anything in life is possible. My father was A.C. Wilson, who retired from York in 1975. His career spanned over 4 decades as a teacher and a coach in his early tenure. Conversations around the dinner table and with guests such as Irene Wynn, Henry Hitt, Bob Ferry, Zelda Reed, Howard Van Norman, and Bert Mickelson, to name just a few, made my brothers, Jim, class of 62, Jerry, class of 64, and me a unique insight into the passion and dedication that exemplifies what we as York graduates experience. The York Community High School Alumni Association was derived from the early planning of this program under the leadership of our first president, Jay Webb, class of 1975. And it's building its own traditions. When you hear the words alumni and association in a single phrase, one may tend to think of merely class reunions. We are much more than reunions. Starting with the celebration of the York Centennial in 2018, chaired by Sharon O'Brien, class of 1976, and the continuing project to archive hundreds of York documents and the decades boards that are hanging in the lobby by Debbie Linhart, class of 1967. The York Community High School Alumni Association carries the pride of York tradition in the community throughout the year. Christian Samuelson, class of 2005, has posted on Facebook regarding our alumni social gatherings, participation in homecoming games, plus other activities. The York Community High School Alumni Association brings together classmates from all years to connect, celebrate, and continue supporting the York community. You can learn more about the organization. I'm not going to say this, www.elmhurst205.org/alumni. Membership is free. Some benefits include the ability to participate in all the Alumni Association events throughout the year, receiving a monthly newsletter with updates on York and fellow alumni. While membership is free, the Alumni Association is privately funded and raises money through merchandise sales, donations, and fundraising events. Please visit our table because we do have the new Elmhurst commemorative throw plus some t-shirts. Consider attending one of our monthly meetings held at the District 205 Administrative Center at 162 South York. Your attendance and participation are welcome. As I mentioned, the Alumni Association has been out the community in Elmhurst Farmers Market during the summer and York football games in the fall. Why? To raise awareness of the organization and to fundraise. We raise money through donations and through the sale of special items like York t-shirts designed by Linda Aldis, class of 74, and the newly redesigned Elmhurst woven throw, spearheaded by Lisa Finelli, class of 1979. Why do we raise money? Not for reunions, but so we can participate in evenings like this where we can honor our own, plus pay it forward. So tonight, we are welcome to congratulate the distinguished alumni. I'm also proud to present to Dr. Megasarian with 20 gift cards and 20 Jewel Target gift cards and 20 Jewel gift cards totaling over $900 for the Duke of Halls program under the Duke's Helping Hands program. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy and the Alumni Association, for your generous donation. As you know, because of the pandemic last year, the ceremony was held virtually. We didn't have a chance to congratulate our honorees in person and welcome them to this wonderful space and their awesome alma mater. At this time, we would like to honor the 2020 York Dukes of Distinction. We are fortunate to have a few of the 2020 honorees here tonight. First, I will read all the names of the 2020 honorees. Kenneth Moy, Martha Garman Van Giem, Jillian Arnold, Menu Idikara, Larry Larkin, Joining us tonight is Kenneth Moy, class of 1951, and Martha Garman Van Geem, class of 1972. Please come to the front of the stage. Okay. Congratulations again. Now, please welcome our superintendent, Dr. Keisha Campbell, to the podium.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone. Oh, let's try that again. Good evening, everyone. I am so honored to be standing before you this evening. As a graduate of York, I am especially honored and delighted to address you tonight, our Dukes of Distinction. York and District 205 are places that are very close to me and to my heart. Our schools are recognized as top-rated educational institutions, and that is because of all of our collective efforts. Dukes of Distinction, your accomplishments and hard work, your success, your commitment to elevate others, your drive, your advocacy for all contribute to the outstanding place we call Elmhurst District 205. Can you clap right there for that? This ceremony and your recognition are evidence of that. Look at who we are recognizing tonight. We have a media inventor, an entrepreneur, a renowned physicians and researchers, leading aerospace engineer, innovative environmental engineer, inventive software entrepreneur, and philanthropist, all leaders in their fields. Your work is impressive and unparalleled, and we are very pleased to share in your success on tonight. When you just graduated from York, wouldn't it have been amazing to look into the future and see yourselves today as alumni and leaders in your field? You have a chance to unwind. If you actually unwind the clock a little, I'm going to ask that you do something for me. As you meet with small groups of students at York tomorrow, I have a favor. I want you to ask yourself, what would you have wanted to know as a Duke high schooler? What advice would you have given your 16, 17, 18-year-old self? I know our students will listen and learn from your wisdom and your life experiences, and perhaps envision how they could reach a pinnacle like yours. Now, with great enthusiasm and excitement, we look forward to hearing your reflections about your time in our schools, and equally important, your experience outside of your lives with us. Esteemed alumni, Dukes of Distinction, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for sharing yourself with us and with our students. You make this Duke alum very, very proud. Thank you. Now I have the esteemed privilege and honor to introduce the president of the District 205 Board of Education, Kara Cafario.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Campbell. So welcome. Isn't it great to be together in person? So on behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome you back to York High School. And I want to take a moment and introduce some of my colleagues that are here. So I want to start with Mr. Collins, who is a 1976 York graduate in his 4th term on the board, which is quite an achievement these days. And he's also the parent of 2 York graduates. If you could stand up, Mr. Collins, and give a little wave. There we go. Mrs. Stufen is also here. She's in her 3rd term on the board, and she's also the parent of 2 York graduates. Mrs. Hostler is a 1989 York graduate, and she's a parent of 3 current York students. And Mrs. Troutman is a board secretary and parent of a current and future York student. And I guess I will clarify that I married into York, as I say. My husband graduated in 1990, and we have 2 daughters that are York graduates, and I have a son who's a student here now. So it's a great school. So as a board, we are so honored to have you here with us to recognize and celebrate your accomplishments as part of York High School's enduring legacy, and also for the betterment of society that you have shown. As I read through your bios and noted accomplishments, which I'm guessing is only a snapshot of your achievements, 3 shared characteristics emerged amongst the 6 of you that have made for a great legacy. Each of you is a lifelong learner. You have clearly carried beyond the walls of York a hunger to study, to learn, to gain insight, and to understand the world around you. Each of you is a demonstrated leader. You have won awards, experienced unique opportunities, and led others forward by stepping up as leaders and doing what leaders do by saying, it doesn't have to be this way. And finally, and most importantly, each of you is a servant. Whether through your teaching, your nurturing, your advocating, or your caring and creating, you have used your skills and abilities to serve others. Each of you have done the hard work and made the sacrifices for the betterment of others. So from the time you became a Duke, which I'm sure feels like a long time ago, to today, you have been learning, leading, and serving. Characteristics of distinction that we hope all our York Dukes develop, and are definitely characteristics worthy of honor. So tonight, we all are here to honor you and to thank you for taking the experiences that began here in these walls and using them for good to create a distinctive legacy for both yourselves and for York High School. Congratulations on all you have achieved, and thank you so much for continuing the great legacy of York High School through your example.
Thank you, Mrs. Cafario, and thank you, Dr. Campbell. It is my honor tonight to recognize the 2021 Dukes of Distinction. First, I'd like to recognize Jerome Rich, who was unable to attend tonight. But one of our students, Isabel Cacciapilli, will share his remarks.
Hello, my name is Jerry Rich, and I am honored to be considered a Duke of Distinction. I graduated from York Community High School in 1956. Think about that. That was 65 years ago, a lifetime. Back then, the school was a completely different building. It was much smaller. The gymnasium had wooden floors. I remember those floors well because I was on the basketball team. I wasn't very good, but I was tall and the only one on the team who could dunk. My teammates took to calling me Wilt the Silt Rich, after the great Wilt Chamberlain, who was around the same age as us. It was quite the nice confidence booster. Through basketball, I learned that if you fill a certain niche, you can become indispensable. It is through support and encouragement of several of my teachers at York that I am the man I am today. As I look back on my time as a student, two come to mind. The first was Mr. Henry Garland. He was a math teacher who showed me that numbers could be used to quantify and understand the world. He ended up inspiring me to major in mathematics at Northern Illinois University. The second was Mr. Bert Michelson, who later became the principal of York in 1961. During my tenure, though, Mr. Michelson was a civics and Spanish teacher. He taught me a very special class where you learned about 4 different cultures and their languages. He was a well-traveled man and always had stories to share. He really opened my eyes to the idea of globalization, or how trade and technology have made the world a more connected and interdependent place. These 3 lessons, indispensability, quantification, and globalization, were the basis behind my idea to incorporate many separate stock exchange software programs into one. At the time, I was working for my father's company, Rich Incorporated, where we integrated audio, video, and data at educational and medical centers. So we had the resources and knowledge to put something together. The resulting product cut down on the amount of time it took stockbrokers to make trades. We ended up partnering and later selling to routers to meet international demand. 3 years after I graduated from York, Willowbrook High School was built. Since I grew up in Villette Park, that would have been the school I intended instead, and I often wonder how differently my life would have turned out if that had been the case. Because I attended York, I could walk over to the local hobby shop in downtown Elmhurst after school and build my model airplanes. But also because I attended York, I learned some valuable lessons that led to my success in both business and in life. I am grateful for my time at York and proud to call myself a Duke. Thank you.
Our next inductee is John Aravosis, class of 1981. John Aravosis is a lawyer, journalist, and LGBT advocate. John created one of the first online grassroots networks in 1995 for the Children's Defense Fund and started his own global internet consulting business in 1997. He went on to become The Economist magazine's first correspondent covering the internet and society, and then launched an online media company, America Blog, called Recommended Reading by the New York Times, Rolling Stones, and PC Magazine. The Washington Magazine annual 50 Best Journalists issue listed John alongside CNN's John Trapper as one of journalism's rising stars. John also ran a number of high-profile LGBT advocacy campaigns and was twice chosen for the Out of 100 as one of the most compelling LGBT people of the year. John received his bachelor's in rhetoric at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and joint Juris Doctorate and master's in foreign services from Georgetown University.
There. Isabel will appreciate this. This is a public speaking trick is to sort of take the mic, because otherwise we're behind her kind of hidden. And honestly, Isabel's hiding now. I'd almost want Isabel to do my speech. I think she was probably much better than Jerry could have been. We were asked to make these like super short, so I am doing super short. But in thinking about being here tonight, it's funny, I hadn't quite put it together until Jan was getting on my case 2 days ago to get my homework done and get my speech in, that I had my first real introduction to playing with a computer here at York. And I think it was my junior or senior year. We had this dingy little computer lab that some of you have probably had as well. And the computers, the best part was, and again, all of you will think this is normal, but for the kids, they're going to think we're nuts, that you saved your computer program on ticker tape. And then once I got to college, we had those note cards that kids still think are crazy, but ticker tape. But that wasn't the best part. The best part was you could come to school early because we were able to book our classes back then. You guys probably had the same thing I did in the 80s, where I could start my classes like at 11, and I'd come in at 8 or 9, whatever the earliest was, and I'd just play on the computer for 2 or 3 hours. And they had this great Star Trek game that was just, definitely haven't gotten over that over the years. But what was interesting to me in thinking about it was that was really my first introduction, not just to computers, but to just loving computers and loving technology and just getting such a thrill out of it. And it wasn't until really 15 years later or so that after I had worked 5 years in politics and had that under my belt, that I just sort of had this eureka moment of thinking about using computers and the internet with politics, which now sounds kind of obvious because we use it with everything, but back in 1995, 94, 95, people were still like, what do you mean we can use the internet for politics? What does the internet even do? But it was just interesting to me, and again, much longer story, obviously, but thinking back to the fact that it was that experience here at York, playing with computers, that really got me into the whole thing, and it just, this is maybe something for parents with really young kids to think about. The rest of us maybe are too old. But just that whole idea of the experiences you have as a kid, and maybe as an adult too, that you don't realize are affecting you in a way that will affect you later and that might inspire something even 15 years later. Again, good luck explaining this to the kids, which is one of the reasons I mentioned I was hoping to talk to a foreign language class tomorrow, because same lesson there, same speech there, learning things that in 15 years you don't realize could be really cool. And I've also been able to do cool stuff with my languages that I almost started here. Actually, Hawthorne let us study Spanish first. But that's all I've got to say. I just wanted to talk quickly. Like we said, we want a quick little point, but that was sort of the one little moment I had in my head, was just how that random moment here at York and just that random bit of, and my parents not minding that I got up early, which I never do, to come to school and just play all morning, really. And the whole idea, frankly, of playing at school anyway is kind of funny in retrospect. But that really set me up for my entire career in a way. So thank you. Thank you, York. Oops. This is.
A nice plaque. I want to say thank you.
Thank you. I have one other comment to make, because I noticed this watching in. Those of you who are a little older, who got like the nice glasses and crept hair, you should be very, consider yourself fortunate, because in the 80s, you looked like this with your hair. Whole other yearbook photo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next inductee is Dr. Joseph Collins, class of 1972. Round of applause. Dr. Joseph Collins is a 1972 York High School graduate who has had a distinguished career as a physician and teacher at the Mayo Clinic in Arizona. He received the Distinguished Mayo Clinic Award in 2004, a singular honor from his peers for his dedication to patient care and acclaimed expertise. A gifted and respected teacher, he has won a multitude of awards, including 2002 Educator of the Year in the medical and laboratory specialties, outstanding faculty member in 2010 and 2014, top faculty member in 2016, Radiology Educator of the Year Award in 2014, 2016, and 2018. He has more than 40 peer-reviewed published articles and books, book chapters, and numerous national and international invited lectures. He has a bachelor's from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and earned his MD from the University of Illinois. He studied at Queen Square in London, England, and completed his residency in radiology from the Mayo Graduate School of Medicine in Minnesota.
There have been 3 important turning points in my life. First, I got a good education. Second, I found my calling in life. And third, I married the right person. My road to a good education was bumpy. I'm an example of why it may be important to go to a large university that offers many different programs, because I tried many different paths. I changed majors in college 7 times. At the University of Illinois in Champaign, I met with one of the deans of the pre-med program. He took 1 minute to look at my transcript and grades, then looked me in the eye and said, "There is no way you will ever get into medical school." But a few months later, at the University of Illinois, I met a friend from York High School. I told her I was considering changing my major again to the pre-med program, but I doubted that I could make it. Deb Messman, now Deb Lewis, said in reply, "You'll never know if you don't try." For many physicians, being a doctor is a good job. It's interesting, challenging, but the long hours can lead to burnout. For a few, being a doctor is a calling. It means trying to do your very best for each patient, one at a time. I was lucky to find my calling working with many friends and partners at Mayo Clinic who felt that same dedication. I hope that I was able to educate and inspire young physicians to always do their best. I married Ann Nelson, who I met here in York High School. Ask any of our children or grandchildren, and they will tell you that she is the center of our family. As the years have passed, she has become ever more important to each of us. She may not be perfect, but she's perfect for me. Thank you to York High School Distinguished Alumni Program for this award. Thank you to Bill Toombs, my friend, who devoted much of his time to nominate me. And thank you to my friend Sandy Wilson, now Sandy Bakke, who also nominated me. And thank you all for being here tonight.
Our next inductee is Dr. Rachel Elliott, class of 1984. Dr. Rachel Elliott is an aerospace engineer and an advocate for the LGBT individuals. She also has a passion for lifelong learning, a trait she said was first instilled here by the faculty at York. She earned her bachelor's in aerospace engineering from Iowa State University in 1989, completed her master's in mechanical engineering in 2011, and her PhD in mechanical engineering in 2021. Her first post-college job was supporting fighter jets in Texas. Since then, she has worked on commercial aircraft with Boeing, on the Airborne Observatory for NASA, and many other commercial and military aircraft programs. Dr. Elliott came out as a transgender woman in 2013 and since then has facilitated support groups for transgender youth and adults and has advised many public and private organizations on LGBT rights. She has testified before the Utah legislature and partnered with the U.S. Department of Justice to provide transgender awareness and training. She has also served on the board of directors of the ACLU of Utah, seeking to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans. Dr. Rachel Elliott.
I think my two new life goals are to be at ease at speaking as John is and to be as accomplished as Dr. Collins. I've got some big shoes to fill up here. So when I started at York in the fall of 1980, I wasn't really a very good student. In fact, the only reason any of my teachers even knew me is because my big brother was the famous Ed Heller, class of '82, winner of the prestigious Rensselaer Medal for achievement in math and science, and the guy who pretty much broke the curve in every class he ever took. So my first job at the start of every new class was to help my teachers recalibrate their expectations. So there were a lot of teachers at York that really profoundly influenced me and helped me change that academic trajectory. I could share stories about Mrs. Betty Kaplan in AP Chemistry, or Mr. Thomas Nelson, the former math department chair, but I don't have time to recognize them all. So allow me to share a story about one man who maybe unexpectedly had an influence and made a difference. I never ran cross country at York, but Coach Joe Newton made an impression on me that has stayed with me throughout my life. While I wasn't a runner, I played in the band. I'm a little sorry now that the band is gone. So pep band played really regularly for things like basketball games, but for cross country, that was strictly a volunteer event. So we would get a group of people together, maybe as few as 2 or 3, or as many as 8 or 10. We'd pile in cars and we'd drive off to these away meets. Now that's all except for the state meets, when we took 10 bus loads of people down to state meet, right? But during one of these particular away meets, we had about 5 of us. And it's kind of a ragtag group. But every time we'd see one of our York runners coming, we'd strike up the school song as our runner would go by. It wasn't impressive, it wasn't even good, but our heart was in the right place. And lo and behold, at one of these meets, here comes Coach Newton, storming across the field over to where we were standing. And he walked up and he said, "You guys are great, you're all great." He says, and he meant it, he really meant it. You know, he had that infectious enthusiasm. And he pointed to one of us and he said, "I want a list of all your names, and you all got A's in gym this quarter." So the list was put together, and it was delivered to Coach in the morning, and sure enough, we all got A's in gym. So York won the state cross-country championship all 4 years I attended. Coach Newton's legacy stands on its own merit. And some of you may remember, he started off on the first day of school, the first day of gym class, with every freshman class, and we all had to gather in the gym, and Coach would have his sign-up table, and he would look around, and he would find what looked like the least athletic people sitting in those stands, and he would point to them, and he would coerce them, and he would say, you come down here, and you sign up for cross country. You sign up for cross country, and I will make you a champion. And he did, over and over, year after year. The kids I saw from my class that were chosen, I almost laughed out loud. 4 years later, they were filling the podium at state meet. So what it is, it's the Pygmalion effect. You believe in people and get them to believe in themselves, and then they will rise to levels of greatness well beyond their own original expectations. Coach also understood that no one achieves alone. Running may be an individual sport, but it takes the trainers, the bus drivers, the custodians, the school administrators, and yep, sometimes even the band, to help make a team successful. Coach Newton understood that, and he recognized everyone with sincerity who contributed to the success of the team. Not every teacher who influences us stands in front of a class. I work for the District 205 Maintenance Department out of the maintenance shop at Bryan Junior High for 7 summers and a few winters all through high school and college. I learned not only about laying bricks, putting in a drop ceiling, trimming shrubs and mowing lawns, but I also learned about taking pride in one's work, especially pride that was sufficient for the joy and contentment that was absent the need of other external recognition. My York family laid the groundwork for my achievements later in life. It turns out it wasn't the expectations of my teachers that needed recalibrating, it was mine. I had influential people who believed in me until I believed in myself, and that was the moment anything was possible. And to quote Coach Newton, "You guys are great. You're all great."
Our next inductee is Bruce Mather, class of 1965. Bruce Mather has dedicated his life to his faith, his family, his vocation, and his community. A 1965 graduate of York High School, he worked his way through college and graduated school as a youth minister and a part-time employee at the Elmhurst Hospital. Positions of increasing responsibility prompted him to become a licensed engineer and a member of the hospital administration. In 1980, he became the executive director for facilities management at Elmhurst College. As a forward-thinking leader, he worked to transform the college into a modern, beautiful, and welcoming institution while developing the campus into a nationally recognized registered arboretum. His concern for the environment led to innovative programs and facilities which emphasize sustainability and conservation of natural resources. The college's West Hall received many awards, including the national recognition as a LEED Gold building for its green initiatives. He founded a regional facilities association and has served as an officer in the national and international organizations. He has been a leader in various churches throughout his lifetime. Bruce Mather.
Thank you. I'd like to just introduce my family. It's over here. You guys can just wave. You don't have to stand up, but okay. That's good. I'd like to thank Dr. Jeffrey Hamilton Licht for nominating me for this award, and for Dr. Bruce Berg and Dr. Troy Van Aken for their letters of support, and the selection committee for the difficult task of picking this year's award winners. A famous comedian once said that you know you're getting older when you bend down to tie your shoes and you say, "What else can I do when I'm down here?" I'd like to add that you know you're getting old when your high school calls and says that you're going to be honored as a distinguished alumni. Through the example of an unselfish mother and the daily sacrifices of a loving wife, I've learned that a worthy life is not so much measured by what you accumulated, but by those you've helped along the way. I received a great education here at York Community High School. In Mr. Kuhn's physics class, I learned that I like to figure out how things work. Miss Settles and Mr. Benson's math classes gave me a good foundation to become a licensed engineer later in life. from Coach Newton. I learned that dedication and hard work pay great dividends, along with some words that I try not to use in public. As I grew, I looked for work for organizations whose primary focus was to help people. During college and graduate school, I worked as a youth minister. And as an administrator at Elmhurst Hospital, I was fortunate to receive recognition for the risk management program which I developed. It later became a part of a model for the American Hospital Association. When I accepted the position as executive director for facilities management at Elmhurst College in 1980, the campus was in poor condition. We had buildings that were literally crumbling. You could walk up to some of the buildings and grab a hold of the limestone foundations and literally crumble them in your hand. But to quote my nominator, the college was a sad place with heavily worn buildings, a barren landscape without much hope for the future. But through the vision of Herb Licht, a local landscape architect, the college had started an arboretum. We worked very hard to transform the campus into the beautiful place that it is today. Now it's a registered arboretum with 900 specimens of trees and shrubs that have a total value of nearly $2 million. It was recognized by the Arbor Day Foundation with the prestigious Tree Campus USA Award. We developed a strategic campus master plan with a particular emphasis on sustainability and conservation of natural resources. We renovated and restored every existing building on campus with the latest materials and technology. I'm especially proud of the environmental projects that we were able to complete. We built a prairie garden to restore a section of the campus to its natural habitat for birds and insects. We established a rain garden, a woodland garden, and a butterfly garden. The Monarch Way Station that we designed was successful in attracting butterflies during their annual migration. In working with the city of Elmhurst, we were able to change local ordinances which allowed Elmhurst College and York High School to house apiaries to help study the declining bee population. We worked with Elmhurst Hospital to design and construct a nursing skills lab at their new campus for training Elmhurst College nursing students and the hospital nursing staff. In cooperation with the Elmhurst Park District, we created a collegiate level softball field, an artificial turf soccer field at Barron's Park, a baseball field at Butterfield Park, and new tennis courts available to the community when not in use by the college. We built the Bates Observatory, which is open to the public. We created a new art gallery in the Accelerator building on campus and renovated our library to accommodate the highly acclaimed Elmhurst College art collection, which, if you haven't seen, is not necessarily to my taste, but it's certainly a very prestigious collection. We worked with the city of Elmhurst to sponsor the Prairie State bicycle races. Early on, we developed a robust recycling program which diverted over 100 tons of campus waste from landfills on an annual basis. We designed and operated a central chilled water plant to air condition the campus buildings while reducing our environmental impact and our electrical costs by 85%. Our most recent residence hall, West Hall, was the first LEED Gold building in DuPage County. It received numerous national, state, local, and environmental awards for its many green initiatives and the stormwater management. In closing, I'd like to again to thank you for this recognition, and I encourage all of us to be environmentally responsible and invest our time in activities that make the world a better place than we found it.
Our next inductee is Dr. George Williams, class of 1970. George Williams, medical doctor, is chief of the Department of Ophthalmology and director of the Beaumont Eye Institute at Beaumont Health in Royal Oak, Michigan. He also serves as a professor and chair of ophthalmology at Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine and is a professor at the European School of Advanced Studies in Ophthalmology in Lugano, Switzerland. Dr. Williams has published more than 250 articles and book chapters in his field, has participated in more than 30 clinical trials, and delivered 25 named lectureships around the world. As former president of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, AAO, and active board member, he is a recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award for the AAO. He is an associate editor for surgical techniques for the Journal of Retina. Dr. Williams is a recertified diplomat 2005 and 2016 of the American Board of Ophthalmology and an elected fellow of the Association for Research in Vision and Ophthalmology. Dr. George Williams.
Thank you. Dear friends, former teachers, colleagues, and students, I would like to thank the selection committee for choosing me as a Duke of Distinction and thank my lifelong friends, Dan Purdom and Jeff Caden, for their nomination. I walked the halls of York from 1966 through 1970 and still have many fond memories of my friends, teachers, and activities. Like most high school students, I was just trying to survive, and I had no idea how fortunate I was to attend such an outstanding institution. That revelation came in college and beyond. Even before York, I was blessed to attend Lincoln School and Bryant Junior High. I'm so delighted tonight to see my kindergarten teacher, Miss Ann. Miss Ann, would you please stand? Seeing her reminds me of the now classic book by Robert Fulghum, All I Really Need to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. It's a relatively short discussion of the tenets for a successful and, more importantly, a happy life. The entire book can be distilled down to a few handful of principles. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt someone. Flush. Wash your hands. When you go out in the world, watch out for traffic. Hold hands. Stick together. Remember to wonder and look. That just about covers everything, doesn't it? The golden rule, politics, ecology, equality, and basic sanitation. Thank you, Miss Ann. Message received. Now back to York. York taught me many things, perhaps most importantly, how to think and write. This served me well in college and medical school, and to this day in my career as an academic physician. I learned the importance of team sports. Like most freshmen, I labored under the misperception I actually had some talent. I tried out for the basketball team, was cut. Tried out for the baseball team, was cut. But this time I was asked to be the manager, and I said yes. I didn't get to play, but I was part of the team. Finally, I made a team, the Frosh wrestling team. After 2 years, I knew the pattern of the lights in every gym in the West Suburban Conference. I recall thinking as a sophomore during a match at Hinsdale Central, They've changed the lights. But team sports taught me discipline, how to be a team player, how to lose, and rarely how to win. Over the years, I've read thousands of applications for medical students, resident applicants, fellows, and faculty. Each level becomes more competitive, and it seems nearly everyone is smart enough. One of the first things I look for is participation in team sports. The second is being a musician. Music teaches of the same attributes and discipline. Healthcare today is a team sport, and I want to work with team players. And now a few closing observations. My father, JT, watched his 4 sons pass through York, with 3 having actual athletic success as lettermen. John was captain of the basketball team. Tom was a varsity wrestler, and Phil was a state cross-country champion under Mr. Newton. Obviously, I can't blame my genes. More importantly, though, JT taught me that you can judge a person by the quality of their friends. If so, I have done well, because I have some amazing friends, some of whom are here tonight. I thank you all. No matter what you choose for a career, strive for excellence. Enjoy your successes. It's fun to do well, but respect and analyze your failures. That's what makes you better. In surgery, there's an old aphorism that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. I think that probably applies to most things in life. There are many successful work cultures. The trick is to find the culture that you are most compatible with. The most common work-related mistake I have repeatedly seen is people taking a job thinking they will change the culture. That rarely works out. When you get the chance, always hire people smarter than you. They make you smarter. And finally, regardless of what you do, find a way to give back to your profession or community. Money is the easiest way to give back. Time is the hardest. Try to do both. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It has been my great pleasure to recognize and honor all of you tonight. You have brought great recognition to our school and district and have set a wonderful example of successful, authentic Duke alums who live here in the lives with purpose and grace. Thank you. Now, a little bit of a promo. Nominations are open for next year's Duke of Distinction. Go to www.elmhurst205.org to nominate your favorite Duke. And please spread the word. Once again, thank you for attending tonight's program. Honorees, please gather before the stage with your plaques to take a picture and have a nice evening. Thank you.